Hello again, it's Noob, and if you've seen my channel enough, you'll know that I'm always trying to find new things to make, things which I think are sort of missing in the toolkit of the lockpicker and locksporter. And my thinking had gone to these tubular cores. And here's a tubular core here, it's a see-through plastic one. And the way in which you'd classically pick this, single pin picking, is by putting tension on this core. There's a little notch here. There's a number of ways to put tension on the core. Then you'd use a probe like this broken pick, which again, don't throw away your broken picks, make them into something useful. And what you can do is you can put tension on the core, then you can pick the pins individually by depressing each of the pins in turn, finding the binder and setting it just like you would a normal lock. So there's a number of ways you can tension this. People I've seen have been tensioning using specialist tools which fit into this gap really tightly and can provide some torque on the core. You can pick it one position by sort of levering it with a tension tool or a piece of wiper insert, but that won't open most locks. Or you can use tools like this, which are commercially available, and this is a very good one from Sparrows. And this comes as part of a comb tension bar set, which I'll leave a link to. I don't think they sell it individually. Sparrows, if you're watching, please consider selling this individually. It's fantastic. Okay, and it's probably the best on the market, and you can basically put tension on the lock, hold it, and turn it. So it isn't just clear plastic locks. There's beautiful locks like this. Ilco Unican Herculock, which also has a tubular core. A beautiful lock, this one. And there's an American lock, the 7000 series one, which has a tubular core as well. And you can see how this can fit in, and it's long enough, which is the important thing. Unlike the Sparrows Mantis, I think, it's long enough to actually put your fingers on, and thin enough that you can see the pins. And that's really important because you don't want to obscure the pins. You want to be able to get down there and even pick these ones, which are right by the tensioner here, like that. Okay. So this is really good. It works really well. It's liked by a lot of people who have it, but it doesn't help you with things like this. And these are, again, these are cheap Chinese disc locks, but there are more expensive ones with a similar format, and that is a format with no tensioning groove here, and this here is just a ball bearing to stop you from drilling it, so the drill bit will slip off. And you can imagine that you can't use the standard form of tension tools because, like I said, there is no groove to dig into at all. It just can't work. So I've seen a number of people sort of pick it at least one position by getting in here, and again using a bit of wiper insert is pushing on that bottom ring. You probably see that there's a top ring, there's a bottom ring, and if you push on that you can tension it and move it one position forwards. Again, it won't open the lock. If you look at this lock in particular, you'll notice that it needs to be moved so one position, two positions at least. I think this yellow one here is very similar. It needs to be pushed. So one position, two position, maybe two positions as well. Okay. So how is it working? How is the lock actually opening with a key? Well, obviously it's got the bitting which pushes the pins down to the right depth. Then it's got a little notch here which actually operates the inner ring. So you can see it going in. It goes down to a certain depth, and then it can tension that inner ring. Here's a skeletonized version of the key, which I made earlier, and it doesn't go in very far. Look where that red mark is. It doesn't go in very far. That's as far as it goes, and you can see that that actually tensions the bottom ring now. So you can use this actually as a way to, you can skeletonize a key, any key that's similar to this, and you can use it to tension that bottom ring. Quite good, but it actually obscures your picking, and it's also hard to sort of hold in hand because it's not only obscuring the lock itself, or the pins itself, but your fingers are as well. So it's not a very useful tool. It's not a very universal tool. So what do we do about that? Well, with Sparrows in mind again, I was thinking about their new big do-it-yourself pick blanks. And this actually is made of their really, really, really strong steel. It's 25 thousandths, which is a bit thin, but as a proof of concept, I'm going to go with it, because if you actually look at the skeletonized key, you don't need a lot of metal anyway. You just don't. You need about 1 to 1.5 millimeters of it, and probably the depth of about 5 millimeters. So you don't need an awful lot. So it probably will be strong enough. It's also got a nice length to it. If you compare it to their comb tension tool, look, it's quite similar length, so that'd be quite good to again hold in hand. And what I've done is I marked one out for you. I'm going to go away and grind this down as a proof of concept, where I try to get the center part relatively central. I'm going to use these curves to get some nice round edges. That line is about my depth line to where we need to start to sort of skeletonize the inside out. I'm going to try to put a little back notch on it, just like this, just there, so that it can tension either side of those locks. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Okay then, we're back, and well, you can see again, just going back to the normal style tensioner, works brilliantly on most of these tubular locks, but can't grip anywhere here to tension it. And two, the tension tool which I've just made, given it a tiny bit of a polish, and I made this out of, there we go, one of these Sparrows DIY picks, the thick ones. Clearly not what it was designed for. It's supposed to make a pick out of it, but actually made a tension tool. And you can see that this little foot here, hopefully will replicate the keys. You can see how this is really replicating that little end of the key there, which will do like this, as it would a normal key. Tensioning, you slide it down. If you can see here, there's that inner ring at the bottom. This foot goes down and tensions against that inner ring, and then it just sits essentially just there. Now where's my probe? The leg is thin enough that it will rotate round, and the Sparrow steel is really strong stuff, so it should be relatively okay to pick. So let's just go around and have a go. You can see the pins, so I can access the pins 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way around. So it's pretty usable. All right, so let's have a go. Pin 7. Pin 1, little click. No, on 2. Oh, core movement. Don't know what a touch there. A little bit on 5. Tiny bit on 6. Touch the pins again. Right, all seems set so far. Oh, and we got it. And then we rotate it round to the next position. Ah, we got it up. So there you go. And it doesn't trap the tool in. It's slim enough that you can just put it in. And that means if you want to pick it back, you just slide it in this way. Get the foot in the, let's call it the tensioning gate. I don't know what we want to call it. Then you should be able to click it in and pick it back. So where's that gate? It's in there. There you go. Feel a bit awkward because it feels like you're sort of picking backwards, but should work just fine. Then pick it back to there we go. Pick it back to unlocked. Everything's feeling picked. And we're back, I think. There we go. Picked and locked back up, and we'll work with the key. So, improvements to my design. Well, if I had more material, I do like the idea of having this a tiny bit thicker, just like this Sparrow's tension here. I'd like to... I quite like the idea of having a little top of the keyway tension thing at the end. That'd be quite nice, but again, don't have the material. It'd be nice to make this little backstop. Notice it currently, you put this down in here, sits just around pin 1 and 2, but I think if I had a bit more space, I'd like to move it so that it would sit more comfortably just there. That would allow you to have better access to all the pins. Currently it does occlude pin 2 a little bit. It's okay because you can get down it very, very easy, even with a thick tool there. But again, this is a first prototype, and I'm actually quite pleased with it, I have to say. So there you go. I think that with these two picks, you're going to be able to tension and open a lot of tubular locks. So, and I know these are like the cheap Chinese disc brake version locks, but I've seen a lot more of this design out and about these days for reasons I do not know. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting, and I'll see you next time.